Often I am asked, what does a hero truly need? Much depends upon the hero. Would you be swift? Then for you, I have speed beyond measure.
So we've made the trek over to the public part of Gamescom, which is quite a feat because there's hundreds of thousands of gamers out there, and a lot of them are flocking to Valve's corner of this hall and the world premiere of Dota 2. So what made you decide that you wanted to sort of premiere a game like this? Because it's quite a different style of showing off a game.
Well, we got into the game into Dota, building Dota 2 because we were fans. Robin and EJ, Adrian were actually trying to compete in a league and getting stomped. But because of their enthusiasm for the game, they contacted IceFrog, hoping that he would reply because they were game developers as well. And he started talking about what he wanted to do with the sequel, and they said, "Oh, we have a great idea. Why don't you come here to Valve and we can all build this together?" So that was sort of the first stage. It grew out of an enthusiastic fan kind of impulse. The first things that we had to do was that IceFrog has a group of playtesters like Meepo, who've been working with him for years, and so we needed to go through the process of getting their feedback, iterating, redoing the user interface until they were happy with it. The next step, having sort of addressed a lot of their issues, was to test out how the game does in this kind of setting, in a professional tournament setting. There are a whole bunch of things that we've already learned that we're going to go back and address next week. So it's been really valuable. After this, we're going to do an invitational beta, and then we'll do an open beta, and then we'll be done. But it's just part of the development process that everybody who was involved thought this was a really good step in terms of addressing a whole bunch of features and services we would need before we can ship the product.
Since Dota launched the original mod for Warcraft 3, there's been a lot of sort of similar games coming out, and League of Legends is very, very successful. Where do you feel that Dota 2 sort of builds on that and does something different and something that player will be excited about?
Well, we have sort of two goals. One is to build the sequel that IceFrog's wanted to build for what he was doing with Dota, and then in addition to the tens of millions of people who are already playing that, is also try to figure out how to make the experience more accessible to new players, right? So if you were willing to download a bunch of software and read a bunch of guides and so on, you could get into Dota. But for a lot of other people, the whole process was too difficult or was too obscure. So we want to make sure that we can continue to grow the audience for these kinds of games and bring a bunch of new people in and find out, so they can know why it is that we and people, everybody else are so fanatical about this kind of game.
So normally this kind of title doesn't really appear on Steam because a lot of them are free-to-play models and things like that. How do you think that Steam will work to sort of make the experience even better?
Well, we've started to support, provide services to free-to-play. Team Fortress 2 has switched over and is now free-to-play. The model that we have been using is we'll pick a title and identify some technology that we need to develop. So, whether it's, there are a bunch of features that we have been working on in terms of, economy features, the source filmmaker and so on, that the Team Fortress has been using a lot. With Dota 2, what we've been building are a bunch of the features related to how we can support tournament play. after we get that work through in Dota 2, then they'll go migrate back to like CounterStrike GO and to Team Fortress 2 and Day of Defeat. And once we know that we've worked through all the interfaces, then it'll get merged in with Steamworks. So anybody who's using Steamworks would be able to use the same tournament facilities, the web backend, the support for multiple commentary modes and so on in their titles as well.
It sort of facilitates each other, really.
Right. So it's to always think of what we're building, not only for how we would use it, but then how other people can build on it.
You mentioned a game there that you just recently announced, CounterStrike GO. What was your sort of objective there, and why do you feel that another Counter-Strike is needed, and what do you want to achieve with it?
So we wanted to do a sort of a larger scale update to Counter-Strike Source, and we also hadn't released a console version of Counter-Strike since the 2003 Xbox version. So we wanted to get a Counter-Strike out there for people who are playing on the PlayStation 3 and to the 360. So it's a similar kind of update that people saw between the Counter-Strike 1.6 and Counter-Strike Source in terms of the scale and the kind of changes that we're making.
And speaking of that, where do you feel that sort of is there a console audience for that kind of game? Do you feel that, or is it because in Sweden where I'm from, Counter-Strike is being played a lot of the time at LANs where people sit in the same room and play that way. Do you feel that the same kind of atmosphere can be there online as well on a console?
Well, certainly games like Call of Duty and Battlefield do really well in the console space.
But it is a little bit different with Counter-Strike.
Yeah, and we sort of have given up trying to guess. Like, we were surprised at how, we actually have had more people playing Left 4 Dead in the console space than in the PC space, and if you'd asked us before we shipped, we would have said based on its similarities with Counter-Strike that we would have thought it would have been the reverse. Portal's been more successful on the PC, sold better on the PC relative to the consoles. And so we never are really able to tell. We just put it out there. We make sure that whichever machines gamers want to play it on, it's available, and they decide what's the right place for it.
So, and you mentioned this, that I believe Counter-Strike is being developed not at Valve, but at a different place. How does that work, the relationship between Valve and various different developers who are working on your IPs?
I think it's probably similar to how we've worked with other partners in the past. For example, Turtle Rock, when we originally started working on Left 4 Dead, before we merged the two companies. So it's a similar kind of relationship.
And of course, everyone is wondering what you guys, the main Valve team, are doing right now, and where HalfLife is headed.
I got nothing to say about HalfLife.
Well, it's not dead anyway.
I have nothing to say about HalfLife.
All right. So at least I tried. I'm sure all of you want to know what's going on next with Gabe and his team, but that's it. And it was very nice to see the crowds out here at watching Dota. I'm sure that's encouraging for you as well.
I think it's really exciting, and it's important for us when we're thinking about what we need to be building to see how valuable this kind of play is, how entertaining it is to watch players at this level. I've been out there taking notes, right? It's like, every time, every 10 seconds I'm watching these guys, I'm going, oh my God, oh, that's real. I have to try that on Eric. And next time we play, I'm definitely going to be using some of the stuff I've seen here today. And that, to us, I think, is also going to be true for other developers, that building these kinds of capabilities into all our games is going to be valuable to our customers.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
What does a hero truly need? That is for you to decide.